Hello, Kate.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. I have the lovely Kate here, who is a stylist in Sydney. I was about to say Melbourne. In Sydney.
Here, there and everywhere.
She works in Melbourne
It's
as
true,
well.
it's true.
Kate Lauren Harper.
Yes.
That is
my full name.
your full name.
Full name.
So your surname's Harper.
It is, and you know what? This was all just a bad branding decision from my end. This was the fact that I used to go by, well, not bad, but it's more funny how it came about. I used to go by Kate Lauren, so like just my first name and my middle name.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden when I guess it was when I was like doing bigger jobs and where you have to fill out more intense forms and whatnot. And that's when I had to start putting my last name for things. And then people were getting confused between who's Kate Harper and who's Kate Lauren. Are they the same person? Are they? So then I was like, I guess now I'm doing the full thing. Yes. Full legal name.
Love that. Love that.
That's how that happened.
Do you know when I've seen you on Instagram for a long time, but it probably wasn't until recently that I actually, I knew it was Kate H something. I didn't actually realise that was your full name. Isn't it weird how we look?
Well, it's branding. It's not necessarily my full name, it's my brand.
Right. So, where can people find you on socials to stalk you?
I'm all of the places, and I'm at Kate Lauren Harper. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok sometimes, but mostly Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure you're the
And
same.
your website too.
Yeah, true, my website as well. Same thing, Kate Lauren Harper.
Amazing, amazing. All right. So, Stylist Kate.
Yeah.
First of all, before we even get into it, what does a stylist do?
So
And what is your role as a stylist?
this is the way that I usually break it down when I'm talking to someone who's not in the industry. I normally will say that I work majority on photo shoots and I'm responsible for creating the look that the model or the talent is wearing. This can kind of look different depending on who the client is, who we're shooting for. Is it a beauty brand? Is it a fashion brand? Is it a magazine? Yeah, it kind of looks different depending on. But basically I'm responsible for the fashion, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I kind of break it down.
Okay.
And it still feels a bit mystical, doesn't it?
Guess for me, the place that it feels mystical is who comes up with creating. Do they send you a brief?
Yeah. So again, I feel like it depends on what we're working on.
Yeah.
Why don't we base it? I'll give you a couple different examples.
Yeah.
If it's a fashion job, if it's a fashion brand, as in they're producing clothing, they will usually come to me, they'll say, this is our collection, this is the story that we want to tell. And when I say the story we want to tell, it's usually a mood board, but they'll often give me like some keywords as well in terms of who they're targeting. Sometimes they'll say to me, we want it to be, you know what, all the brands will say, we want it to be cool girl. It's always cool girl. I'm sure. And so that will be a mood board for the collection, but for the overall, I guess, art direction of the shoot. From there, sometimes brands will break it down into, okay, this is specifically what we want to feature in terms of accessories. So some brands will come to me and say, we want point toe shoes and we want little mini micro bags. Other times they'll say to me, would love to see a pitch for what you think the styling should be. So they always come to me with an overall mood board, but then it kind of depends how much direction they give me from there and the space I have to play in. And then it's similar when I'm working with a beauty brand or a commercial brand. They obviously are not producing clothing. So I'm responsible for all of it. Again, they'll come to me with some kind of brief. And often there's a little bit of back and forth as well. So they might come to me with they might come to me with a brief and then I show them what that would look like literally. If they've sent me all these beautiful photos, for example, of a girl in, a white tank and blue jeans. And then so I'll find a white tank and blue jeans and I'll send them the photo. They might say to me, it's a little bit simple because they don't always, sometimes when they see it literally translated like that as opposed to like the photo of the model posing in that white singlet and blue jeans, then the vision will sometimes change a little bit. So it might still be the blue jeans, but maybe we're doing a coloured singlet or maybe we're doing a singlet with some kind of little interesting detail. It's usually a bit of a dance of who is directing it. And from there, there's usually rounds of feedback as well, like 1 or 2 rounds of feedback from when I present the initial deck. Yeah. So they come to me with a mood board, I present a deck from there, which is like, this is the literal examples of what you would be getting, like this is what I'll show up with on the day. Yeah, okay. And then, there's usually 1 or 2 rounds. They'll say, oh, we don't love this. Can we get something like this? This is great. Well, we'll work through it a little bit together. And then, that's where we come to, I guess, what the final pieces are going to be.
Okay, so how far in advance are they generally sending you this?
It depends. It really depends. Like in an ideal world, a month ahead of time.
Yeah.
But a majority of the time, I do get booked like probably 5 or 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
But then often I don't get the brief until probably like 2 or 3 weeks out.
Okay.
Occasionally you'll only get the brief the week before, and then you have to rely on your Iconic same-day delivery and your Zara same-day delivery.
Yeah.
So it really depends. I think it's a symptom of the fact that, especially with fashion brands, a lot of them are very under the pump. They work at a very fast pace and they want to give me the brief a month out. They just can't. They're just so under the pump that they can't show up that way for me. And so I think a big part of being a stylist is being flexible, just making it work, being creative in that, bringing creative solutions. That's what it is. You just make it happen.
Yeah.
They show you a reference of this beautiful, Prada point toe kitten heel that they want, and they want it for the shoot in 4 days' time, and they have $100 budget. Well, you're probably not going to be getting the Prada heel.
No, probably not.
Probably. Just a thought. You're probably going to get the the $100 version from the Iconic that comes within 3 hours. We love the Iconic.
Yeah, we love that.
So it's like creative solutions, and I guess helping them find that creative solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they send you, I don't know, the brief or the mood board, are you always the only stylist pitching for it?
Usually by the point they're actually giving me a brief, that's when I'm locked in, because I guess for them it's kind of almost a waste of time to be sending the brief and explaining it to multiple people. Yeah, so when I'm getting the brief, by that point I've quoted, my quote has been accepted.
Okay.
So we're kind of already at that point. We've already talked about, do you have budget? What is the budget? Yeah, we've kind of already covered all of that.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll be put forward for something where a producer will say to me, we've got a couple of stylists we're putting forward for this, would love to know your rate and blah, blah, blah. That's totally fine, but you're obviously not going to be pitching any accessories or anything like that until you're actually confirmed.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise you're doing work.
Totally.
And
they don't want to pay for that.
They might use your ideas.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Also, your creative ideas. And then how long do you allow, I guess, right? If you've got a 1 day shoot, does that mean 1 day pre, 2 day pre?
Oh, I like this question. It's a good question. Again, I feel like I've said this with every question, but it really does depend on the job. And that's something that we talk about in the negotiation period of how much, I guess, because really it's how much time do they want to give me, or do they have budget to give me? Yeah. So, it very much depends on what the job is.
Yeah.
If we are shooting a campaign and we have 20 looks in the day, for example, 1 day of prep, if it was a fashion campaign and I was just sourcing accessories, 1 day of prep is perfect amount. Yeah. But it kind of, it really depends on what the job is and what the requirements are. Yeah. Because for example, if I'm shooting for a beauty brand, which I actually do quite a lot of beauty, and you'd think it's just a singlet, right? But I feel like beauty brands have a lot more budget often than fashion brands do. The margin's a lot bigger. If you think about it, they are leaning into this more creative storytelling now, and they are doing these big full lengths and these shots that tell a story, as opposed to just this is how amazing your face will look with this amazing product or whatever. We do that as well. Yeah. And there's less styling for that. But when we're doing the storytelling piece, it's very much head to toe styling. Okay. And so a job like that, so if I'm sourcing, if it's a 1 day shoot and there's 8 looks, I probably need at least a day prep, but I'll need some posts as well, because if we're shooting 8 looks on a day, I'm not showing up with 8 looks. I'm showing up with probably more 20 and a full rack, because things just, even if it's pre-approved ahead of time, things move. Yeah. You saw this on the job that we did. It's the perfect example. Yeah. Things move, you need to be flexible, and you also for my own peace of mind, because even when clients have said to me, just it's all good, we've got enough, I would actually rather, sometimes I'll just pull some extra things just that I have in my kit. Yeah. Because when there is some kind of obstacle that we need to overcome, someone's not the size they said they are, the brief is such a change, whatever it is, it means that then I can be okay, I've got this great, white t-shirt for my kit that's going to work perfectly here. And, and it's for my own peace of mind that I can then problem solve. And then the client's always stoked when you can jump in and solve a problem like that. Yeah.
And it looks the way they want it to look.
That's
or they
exactly
like
right.
The look
Yeah,
of it.
regardless of the hurdles. Yeah.
And I suppose the more experienced you get, you realise how much time you need to plan something, I suppose. And also maybe you get faster at it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I guess I also know where to go to look for certain things now as well. Like I know what brands I love to always get jeans from, and I know where I love to get a white t-shirt from, and just things like that. And then I guess as well, like even the fact that with online shopping, you can filter everything down. So if I'm working to a specific colour palette, like when I'm working for a beauty brand, for example, they often want the colours to reflect their branding.
Yes, yeah.
I can literally just go in and narrow it down. I can narrow it down by size. I can narrow it down by how much budget I have. Online shopping has really changed the way that stylists work.
Yeah, okay.
Because I feel like even when I started, which was nearly 10 years ago now, even then online shopping wasn't as big, but it's just getting better, really. Oh my goodness.
Kind of
it's like, I mean, it's amazing and terrible because sometimes the same day delivery thing, it almost makes clients think that you can get anything within a day.
Yeah.
And you can get some things within a day, but it's, you know, only what's in stock in their Sydney in their Sydney warehouse.
Sydney warehouse, yeah. Or Sydney brands, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So you do still have to manage expectations, but online shopping has made styling just so much easier. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So how did styling begin for you? Let's go back to the beginning after all of that.
Yeah, true. Now I've explained my job. Yeah. So now you know what styling is. So to give you a bit of a background, I grew up in Wollongong, which is about 90 minutes south of Sydney. And it's a city, but it's regional. And as much as it was only 90 minutes away, it felt very far away from fashion. It didn't feel... It's funny because it's changed a lot now, but at the time it just didn't feel creative, and I didn't know anyone in any creative jobs at all. Like it just didn't feel like an option. Yeah. Like everyone around me was going to uni, and I guess everyone everyone was going to uni. Everyone was studying. That was kind of just like what you did, I feel like. You were studying or you were a dropkick, and I wasn't a dropkick. But I also wasn't particularly interested in studying. It was always very creative, but in like different avenues. So growing up, I was actually a bit of a muser.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, but it's so funny though, because in hindsight, I always thought a lot more about the outfit that I was performing in as opposed to the actual performance itself. Like my dream as a 14-year-old, this is so funny, my dream in life was to go on X Factor. Hideous, I know.
I don't think that's hideous. Fun.
It's not particularly chic is more what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, you can say that, right?
Well, it depends, you know. Like, I don't
14.
I've not been cool a day in my life, so to me it's like...
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
And like at the time, my whole like muso brand was like flower crown and like boho flowy dress and like, horrific. Anyway.
Just makes me think Drew Barrymore for I don't know
why. Okay, sure. Anyway, it's just funny looking back in hindsight. I didn't think... I put effort and time into the performance, but I was more thinking about the outfit and the visuals of it as opposed to, like the actual singing and the playing of the guitar and the actual music of it all. I was so much more into the visuals.
Okay. So
yeah.
Wow.
And it's hindsight. Like I didn't realise at the time. And also like what I was saying with fashion feeling so far away from me, I think what I was first most inspired by was actually just like the local shopping malls. Again, not very chic, not very high end, but I remember it like 13, 14, I would always go to Suzanne's and get their little like catalogue with their like latest campaign. Yeah. And I just thought it was I just thought it was so cool how every month there was a new image in the shop window. And again, this is very accessible fashion, right? Like this is this is true, but I mean I also
2000.
This would have been a bit later than that though. Like there was internet around. It wasn't like there wasn't internet, but I think this was the first, because it was so accessible and in front of me. It was the first thing that I was like, oh, this is really interesting and this is really cool. Yeah. And so from there, that's when I kind of dove into like the more high-end fashion references. Okay. And that's when I got really into that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until I was interested in when I saw that like lower end, because I just hadn't been exposed to the high end stuff. I just hadn't. Like,
I didn't, like kids now know what Gucci is.
That's what I mean.
I didn't know what Gucci was.
No, of course not. No.
It was just a different time.
No, absolutely not.
Did you know that a stylist job existed?
So no, that's the thing too. So at this point, I was 16, 17. And I knew I wanted to do something creative. Didn't know what, liked the idea of fashion, felt very inaccessible. I didn't know what a stylist was, absolutely no idea what a stylist does. But I knew that I probably wanted to work in fashion. So I started interning from there. And I'd catch the train up into the city. And it was a very exciting time. And from all my different internships, I did so many unpaid internships. That was kind of actually how I learnt what a stylist does, because I kind of understood from the outside that a stylist puts the looks together. Like I understood from like reading magazine credits or whatever that that's what they do. But I think I didn't understand the broader scale. Like I didn't understand that there is stylists on basically any visual media you see, like any TV ad, any photo shoot, there is a stylist on pretty much all of them. Yeah. And I only knew stylists as a stylist in a magazine. And even then, it's all mystical and magical. Like, I don't know how I thought they got the samples and stuff. You just don't know.
You just don't know what you don't know.
You just don't know.
Yeah. You hadn't been exposed.
Yeah, I hadn't been exposed to it. Anyway, so I started doing internships, and my second or third internship was at a PR firm where stylists obviously come in to pull for photo shoots. And it was when I met a stylist there who was pulling for something, and I'm sure it wasn't something particularly exciting, but I was just so excited that this was going to be in a magazine, that this floral dress in front of me was going to be in a magazine. And that's when I got a styling internship specifically from there, like at an Ecomm studio. Okay. And I started assisting from there. Unpaid assisting then led to paid assisting. And that was kind of, I guess, when I did actually get a little bit more insight into what the role involves, because even when I first started styling, it does feel very glamorous, and especially because I was so junior. Like, I was 17 when I started. I wasn't doing, like, the prep and post days. Like, to be honest, I think I probably wasn't capable. Like, so I would come on set as support, but I was often, like, the second assistant. Yeah. Or, like, I wasn't getting a lot of responsibility, which made sense. And because of that, I didn't understand the full scope of the role. I didn't understand how unglamorous the role is. I didn't understand all the buying and returning of it all. I just didn't. It takes a while, I think, to see the realities of the industry and for like the rose-colored glasses to come off, and you're like, okay, so styling is actually being really organised. Yeah. It's being a creative problem solver, I would say. And it's being flexible. You really have to be flexible. Like, those are the three. And from the outside, I just would have thought that styling is just, like, putting outfits together and having fun and playing dress-ups with, like, hot models. Yeah. You know? Yeah. That's what it sounds like, right? Yeah.
That's completely what it sounds like.
I was gonna say, to be fair, there's probably, like, colleagues like you who still, because it's not your job. It's not your job to know, to be fair. I do think it comes off as quite mystical, magical, you know. But it's also, it's the beauty of it. Yeah.
And when you got these internships, how'd you get them?
Yeah, that's a good one to touch on, actually. I feel like for so many people, they have a foot in the door. They know someone who knows someone. Yeah. I didn't know anyone who knew anyone.
Because you're from the Gong, you know.
The Gong. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. So, that's why I actually mentioned that part, is because I didn't really have any ins at all. So I just sent a stupid amount of emails, and that's actually how I've got all of my work ever.
How did you know to do that?
That's a really good question. Well, I think it was more just that the opportunities weren't coming to me, so I had to find them. It wasn't that I knew that that's what people did. I didn't know people did that. Yeah. I would just email every stylist, every agency, and offer to work for free. Okay. And I would even say, because also, like, to be fair, times are different now. Like, when you're 17, 18 and living at home, and I was also working part-time, like, you can afford to do that, you know what I mean? So I'd say, I know you have your regular assistants, but can I come and do a coffee run? Can I help you steam? And it's actually a really good way to endear yourself.
Also, I think one thing with our industry, everything is about connections and who you know. And being recommended. Yeah, absolutely. So if you have to go to the coffee run for people to meet you, then it was so worthwhile in hindsight. All that and that goes for like makeup artists as well.
Yeah, no, that's why I mentioned it. Yeah. I think as well, another thing that helped was the fact that I wasn't doing an unpaid internship because I was required to for studying. I never studied. I was doing an unpaid internship. I was working for free because I wanted to work for free. Yes. I wanted to be there, and I wanted to be a fly on the wall.
Because you see what it was about.
I wanted to soak it all up. I was just so excited to be there. I was so excited. And I think that would have come across in the fact that I was literally like, I want to do your coffee run for you. You know what I mean? It is a really good way to get in the door, is to come and just show up in that way. Yeah. Yeah. People aren't going to say no to that. Yeah. No. It's so funny though, because when I first started, this has all been like, prepping for today has all been such a good reflection on time. Yeah. Because like, as freelancers, we're always looking forward. We're always like,
We
okay,
don't
what's the
look
next
back.
job?
Yes.
We're like, on to the next. Okay.
Yes.
What's the next milestone? You know,
Yes.
you're not like, oh, wow, I've actually done X, Y, Z and I'm really proud of myself. You like share the work and you're stoked about
Yeah.
it. But you are so often looking to the next thing.
Like, how can I get to this next level?
The elusive next level that we all have in our head, right?
Or is this just going to be like, it's just going to be easy. I'm just going to know that I've got enough work. But I don't think that ever comes.
I mean, you're not wrong. I don't think, like, because I look at people who have had double the time in the industry that I have, and they still tell me that they worry about it. Like, it's very normal, and it's natural, and it's human to feel like that.
Yeah,
it's so normal.
So you did an unpaid internship at an Ecomm studio.
Yes.
And then, did you say you ended up working there, or you went somewhere? What happened after that?
So I did so many, I did a stupid amount of internships and so many like shoot days I would go and do them unpaid.
Yeah.
And then I did that for, I guess it was probably only 2 years, and then that was when I got a role at an Ecomm studio.
You did that for 2 years. But you were 17,
I was young
18.
and I was also working disability support, so I was bringing in income that way.
Okay.
And then I would take days off or I would call in sick so that I could, as we all have at some point, so that I could take on these unpaid opportunities. And I was so happy, to do it. And then I got a role at like a content Ecomm studio, and I was a freelancer, but I was there 5 days a week.
Okay.
Very intense. I was there for 2 years, and it was a huge time of learning.
Yes.
It was a big time of learning because being on set 5 days a week is pretty intense. Though, to be fair, a lot of hair and makeup artists are on set 5 days a week, or I guess depending on the week.
So, yeah, depending on the job. Very different. Ecomm, even though you're there, you might not, you're on in the morning.
That's so true.
And then you're kind of sitting around watching, right?
That's
and
so true.
because,
I'm a bit jealous.
When you're when you're doing Ecomm for hair and makeup, you don't want to be slowing down the shoot.
No. You don't jump
in
any more than you need to.
So it's like you're just jumping in when you need to.
Absolutely.
And so, although you're watching, it's not like...
It's different.
Actually, you know what? It really just even depends on how the model's hairstyle.
Yeah, that's actually so true. Yeah, true.
So, if you got a slick bun, you're
great.
set. You touch up a lip, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if the hair's out, it's a bit more.
Okay, yeah.
But you guys, as a stylist, you're like you get there in the morning, right? When you're doing Ecomm.
Yeah.
Do you steam the garments?
Yeah. So when I was in-house, basically I wasn't doing any prep.
Yeah.
Now my job looks very different as a freelancer because I have some days where I'm in fittings, I have some days where I work from home. Like, I'm not literally on set for 10 hours every single day. Yeah. Whereas, at that point in time I was. And so you get there in the morning.
It's really exhausting.
Oh, looking back, I'm like, how did I survive?
Yeah.
So you get there in the morning, you prep everything in terms of steaming. Sometimes shoes need taping or whatever it is. Everything has to be ready for when you give us our beautiful model out of hair and makeup, and then you're managing the dressing and the changing and the styling in terms of, the tucking and the tying and the bows. And where I worked, it was quite a fast pace. It was probably like 80 to 100 looks a day, and being 5 days a week, and there was 10-hour days. I was a total Ecomm zombie.
10-hour days?
Yeah, because we would get there before the client would, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, the actual shoot hours are not 10 hours, but if you get there, you're half an hour, 45 before the client, you stay to help pack down, it ends up being 10-hour days. It was really good, though, because you learn so much from that environment, and you learn the real technical skills that as an assistant you don't. Because as an assistant, you're there to support. You're not there to physically, tie the tie and tuck and do the bows. That's not really your role. So it was really good in that. I really also learnt a lot about production in that time.
Yeah, okay.
Just because we never had a producer on set. It was quite a unique environment. I don't often work like this anymore because if there's not a producer on set, there's a client who's running it. But for whatever reason, the way that this studio works is that you kind of have your photographer and you have your stylist. Sometimes you have the client. You don't always have the client there. And then there was no one who was really in charge. And so when no one's really making decisions, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to make the decisions to make it happen quicker and get it done. It makes sense for the team. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And so from that, I kind of learned about timing, keeping timing, and I guess just like how to run an efficient set as well.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So I learned so much from that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're on a shoot, I feel like in the morning, no one's aware of time. I'm so aware of time that I actually just have to just take a step back, because I sometimes get worried for the client that they're not going to get the shot.
I can see that for you. I can totally see you doing
because
that.
they're like, I'm like, why does no one care about time? Why is everyone so chill?
Why is everyone socialising?
Why is everyone so chill? Because for me, right, I get in as a hair and makeup artist and we've got to go. We've got to get them ready.
And the pressure's on you too, because they're like, we need her 5 minutes ago. And you're like, she just walked in.
Yeah, she just walked in.
Yeah, so true. And the pressure's on you.
Yeah. And so I've really had to just learn to like not focus on the time.
Yeah.
Like even when we did the shoot that we did together, Kate and I did, was it how many days shoot in Byron? 5.
Yeah.
5 days shoot in Byron.
Something like that.
And Joe, who was producing it, who's actually a friend of mine, like I was like saying to her, like starting to talk to her about the time, and she goes, you don't need to worry about that. And I'm like,
well,
I'm like, okay, I don't need to worry about it.
I mean, if you say so, but also like when it comes to 3 p.m. and you're like, we still have 5 shots to go, you know.
Yeah. So I think from that point on, I'm like, and that's not even that long ago, I'm like, the timing's not on.
No, it's true though. It's so true.
It's not on me. Why am I taking
this on? And that's actually something that I've tried to, that I've learnt since leaving the studio, is that it's actually not normal for the stylist to be keeping time like that. That is, unless I'm there. I do sometimes do jobs where like I'm doing like the creative, and so then I'm kind of doing the production too.
Yeah.
So that's different. But when I'm showing up as the stylist, I need to make sure that I'm showing up on time for my role, absolutely. Yeah. But it's actually none of my business if, someone else is taking too long or whatever. Because I feel like I used to come from the perspective of, we're all here as a team. Yeah. We're working together. So let's, work together to get it done. Yeah. And I do believe in that. But I also know my place. And it's just not worth your energy.
It's not. I think it's good to have an awareness around it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And like if you know that you're running, like to be aware if you're running behind and you need to like pick up the pace.
Absolutely. But also there's also, I think it's that I've learned not to stress. I think that's what it is. I used to stress.
Take on people's stress.
Yeah. And it's funny because you almost stress on behalf of the client. You're like, do you not want to get all your shots done? Like, because you often know that they're working to a tight timeline, a tight budget, but there's no point taking on that stress. It's none of your business, really. No, it's none of your business. Yeah.
And I've been on set with other people, and they're like, "Oh, that's not actually my problem."
I know, and it's like,
okay,
I guess that's true.
I guess that's true.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. No.
I think sometimes we care too much.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. When really, it actually is none of our business.
So you did that 2 years.
Yes.
In the studio. Which was incredible training.
It was, it was so good. And it was also a really good place to meet clients. We had so many great brands working with us at that time. We worked a lot with Sir, we worked a lot with Age, we were working with, who else were we working with? Just so many big, amazing Aussie brands that I wanted to work for. So it was a great way to make contacts that way. I left in 2022, I believe, 2023. Oh, they've all blended into one. I left a few years ago.
Okay.
And I went straight into assisting from there. And I think the way that I showed up as an assistant then versus the way I showed up as an assistant at 17, 18 years old were like chalk and cheese, so different. I think the biggest difference was just that I knew how to hold myself a bit more on set. Yeah. It's not only the unspoken rules, it's that, but it's also when you're 17, you don't even relate to like the 25-year-olds on set.
Yeah,
there's actually just such a gap.
With that lack of life experience.
That's exactly what it is, yeah. And I was a very anxious teenager, and it's so funny in hindsight because I'm not like this at all now. I'm probably talking too much on set, if anything, but I just would not say hi to anyone. I would speak if I was spoken to. I wasn't rude, but I was scared. I was really scared, but also because I was so grateful to be there.
Yeah.
Anything
and you didn't do anything wrong?
Don't want to step on someone's toes. No, absolutely.
And am I allowed to say hello to that person?
And it's literally...
It's sometimes, and then sometimes as an assistant, you do feel that.
I would still, to be fair, I would still feel that more recently. Like, it's not that I didn't feel that anymore, but I knew that saying hello was always okay. I think, you don't always cross I personally wouldn't go and like talk to the head artist when I'm there as an assistant. I wouldn't go start a conversation.
Yeah.
But I'd say, morning, how are you?
Yeah.
And I'd leave it there.
Yeah.
If they start a conversation with me, sure.
Yeah.
But when you're there to support, I just don't want to cross any lines. And also, I'm there to work. I'm not there to, especially as an assistant.
Yeah.
You are there to support in every way possible. You're not there to...
And you don't want to be seen, I suppose, if it's maybe not, we're not putting it really bluntly, you don't want to be seen to be making relationships.
I know.
That's probably the biggest thing, and I think that goes across all assisting
Isn't that
things.
so ridiculous? But yes.
Yeah, you do, and more as in creating relationships that you're trying to take the client.
That's exactly.
basic.
Yeah,
that's
basically.
There's that's as sort of as blunt as it gets, right?
Yeah, it is.
So,
and
I think it depends on who you're working for.
It does. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It does depend on who you're working for. I think on that note, like a lot of freelancers in Australia, this is just what I've observed anyway, might be wrong. A lot of them feel freelancers in general, we feel like, okay, where's our next job going to come from? Because we're in Australia, it's a smaller industry than like Europe or America, for example. Budgets are smaller as well. And because of that, I think we can have a tendency to almost feel insecure in that, not in our skills and qualifications and whatever. It's not that. It's more like, okay, even though I've had this client for years, are they going to keep booking me? Because things change. You don't own clients.
No.
And so because of that, we've then got a bit of a gatekeeping culture among ourselves, and especially with assistants under us as well. There's become this culture of, well, I had to figure it out myself. You need to figure it out yourself too, which I understand to an extent. And I definitely feel like that sometimes. But I do think there's room for everyone, because the jobs that I get booked on, they want me for me, and the jobs that other stylists get booked on, they want them. They don't want me anyway. Like, it's there's so much space, and we all have such different point of views. It's the same with makeup artists as well. Like, what you're getting booked for isn't the same as what another makeup artist is getting booked for. I really just think there's a lot of space, but I also understand why people are scared.
I can see definitely both point of views, for sure.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And I guess you do have to, and when you're an assistant especially, you just, head down, bum up, you have to respect who you're working under. And that means not building relationships, not only with like the crew, but like also the client. So like, again, be so kind and respectful, but like at lunchtime, you're probably not going to be asking them what they're doing on the weekend.
Yeah.
You're not talking to the client at all, really.
Yeah.
That's what I would do anyway. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
What are some other things assisting-wise you wish you knew, like someone had told you?
There are so many unspoken rules, I feel like. I think that client one's a big one. I think that's a really good one to know is that, you show up and you be kind and you be respectful, but you don't, go overboard with it. Not that I ever did. Like I said, I was very anxious, but it's a really good one to know. I think as well, knowing how to show up physically in terms of what to wear. I would always stress so much about that, especially in a styling assistant role.
Yeah.
I would always stress about what to wear. And looking back, it's probably not that deep, but at the time, it feels really scary.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it feels really scary. So I think I would have liked to know that everyone's actually really nice, but when you're working with people who like you've looked up to for years and you follow their work for years, it feels really scary to be there with them.
Yeah. Intimidating.
Yeah, like I genuinely would look at some of these people like they're celebrities.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Because in my mind, that's so much more exciting than working with a celebrity, is working with, makeup artists that you followed for years. Like, that is so exciting. I think it's that. I think it's just that we're all people, but I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, and I think because it was so new to you, you're like stepping into this world that it is like they're like celebrities, but it's just there every day. So they're just going in, getting ready for work, and they're not thinking about you, but it's not in a bad way. It's just that they've got a job to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, I can totally understand that. Because I've definitely been a victim of like suffering with the anxiety of going on set and people you don't know, because you're meeting all these new people as well.
That's actually so true.
Yeah.
It's funny because now I thrive off it. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
But it's, until you get to that point, it is really scary.
What are some things that you would like say to someone who wants to do styling assistant? Like, how would you present yourself? What do you turn up wearing? What do you turn up with?
I think a lot of the things that you need to show up with as an assistant crossover between makeup and styling. Like, I think assistants in general, comfy shoes, always. And then the other thing in terms of wearing is you don't need to be dressed to the nines.
No.
Like, you do not need to be dressed to the nines, and in fact, you probably shouldn't be. I think I was always, I think it's good to be mindful of the fact that you are part of the support team. In like, you are not the main character, respectfully. You're there to support. So that means keeping it quite simple, as in, like, I feel like I would always just wear a t-shirt and some tailored pants, or I'd wear like a nice button down and some jeans. Just keep it simple, I feel like. And if you're in doubt, if you haven't worked with them before, maybe wear black. Like, it's nice just to, you know, that's just what I always did. And just always something comfortable, because you're lifting things, you are packing and unpacking, you are getting up and down all the time off the floor to tie shoes and whatnot. Like, it is not a glamorous role.
No.
I wouldn't wear makeup. Like, when I first started, I'd come with a full face of makeup on, and then you spend 10 minutes in front of the steamer and you've sweated your whole face off. I wear a bit of tinted SPF now, and that's about it. And I mean, you are welcome to wear makeup. But that was just one of my learnings. Is that you just, when you get so sweaty, like, there's no room for makeup. But I think it's just showing up with a good attitude, a willingness to learn, and also having initiative goes a really long way. A really, really long way. Not going on your phone, that's a big one as well. It's kind of all those things. And it sounds quite simple, but it's actually, it can be really hard to find people you align with in that way, I feel like. It can be really hard. Yeah,
for sure. So how long did you go on to assist for?
I toned down the assisting at like the start of 2024 is when I stopped. So it was probably like 2 years. Throughout that whole time, I was doing my own jobs as well, but it was, you know, like one a month or something. Like, it wasn't a lot, but it was here and there. I was building up my experience. And when I was assisting, I worked for lots of different people, which is, I feel like, a really good way to do it. I was never really anyone's first, for like, at least not for a long time anyway. I really liked doing it that way because I worked with stylists in different niches. So I worked with the really commercial stylists, I worked with the really editorial stylists, I worked with the ones who walk the line of both. And it meant that I could take little pieces from everyone that I'd worked with, figure out, okay, I really like how she communicated this problem with a client. I really like how this person laid out their decks when they sent them off. I really like how this person tracked their expenses. And then from that, you can kind of combine and figure out the way that you like to work. It was really helpful just working with so many people and seeing their different styles. Because with styling, you're not necessarily like learning how to put an outfit together from the stylist you work under. You're learning the systems, you're learning the client management, you're learning, the processes, I guess.
Organisation. I think like stylists have got to be really organised with their gear.
It's crazy. The organisation that you just need to be so across it. I have so many Excel sheets. I have so many Google Slides docs, and it's still something that I'm trying to like streamline a lot as well, because like nearly 10 years in, I've got lots of systems, and I still feel like I probably need more. Just because there's a lot to keep track of.
But also, you're not just always working on one job at one time.
No, never. That's why it becomes tricky.
That's what would be really, really tricky.
That's why it becomes tricky for sure.
Can you explain to me, you've mentioned about first assistants. Can you explain, maybe, is it like the hierarchy of the assistant kind of world?
It's probably quite similar for you guys, you could tell me. But I guess depending on who you're working under, they will often have, you know, a first assistant who is the assistant they've either worked with for the longest, or they just show up in the best way for them. And so like there's some assistants, for example, who will only work with one artist, and that artist might be working literally nearly every day, and so they know that they're booked pretty much all the time with that artist. And from there you kind of know that you can tell by how much they request you, I guess, of like where you sit in that hierarchy. And because I kind of always was with different stylists, I guess it wasn't intentional at the time that I was never someone's first. I just wasn't available to be someone's first because someone else would always get in before that booking type thing. And especially when I got towards the end of assisting as well, or when I started to phase it out, I'd kind of have the choice. I'd have 3 jobs come in every day pretty much and then get to choose which one I'd want to do.
Want to work on,
Because when you get to a certain point, you are very valuable when you get to that point of being like a senior assistant. You are very, very valuable. And you there's a small amount of people who will show up as an assistant that way. It's that awkward point of when you're like really trying to make the jump to lead artist and you're quite experienced. So everyone wants you for that experience, right? So because that's invaluable, and there's only so many people in that space because a lot of them have they've already made that leap and they're not doing assisting anymore, or they just haven't had that experience. So when you get to that point, you're probably in like quite high demand, which is a great space to be in. But so I toned down the assisting at the start of 2024. I think we've talked about it before, you and I don't know if on mic, but the fashion industry can be it's all an illusion, right? And it's all about how things look. It doesn't sound very nice, but that feels like the reality of it, right? And so the problem I was starting to have is that I was showing up on set, and for example, I took on this job last minute one time. My other job got cancelled for whatever reason. Something came up. I was like, yeah, I'll just jump on board. No worries, all good. I showed up, and the photographer, the hairstylist and the makeup artist, I was doing a test shoot with them that weekend, and I'd done the creative for it, and I'd never worked with them before, and I showed up on that job and I was shoved in the corner to steam all day. And I feel like in any other industry that wouldn't really be a problem, but we have to think a lot about how things look in our industry.
I see.
And so automatically that put me almost on the back foot coming into the test on the weekend because they've just seen me as the girl who can only steam in the corner. She's not capable of styling, let alone creative directing.
Okay.
That became the problem, is that I was getting booked on these big jobs, but they were with photographers that I'm working with and teams that I'm working with on the weekends on test shoots. So it became really hard because I didn't feel like I was showing up as the best version of myself and the most capable version of myself. So that was when I started to tone it down a bit. Yeah, it was really hard. The jump from assistant to like fully fledged artist was really hard. And that first year especially, I made the call because I knew, because it was getting hard on set, like I said. Yeah. But I was getting enough jobs that I could like just scrape by. And like only just, like absolutely no excess. Yeah. I'd get behind on my tax, but I could just scrape by.
Okay.
But I knew that if I could just scrape by, it meant that more jobs would come in. Clients would start seeing me as the artist as opposed to the assistant. But there were so many times in that year that I just wanted to throw it all in. Like that was like, it's so funny because I guess that would have been 7 or 8 years into my career. And it really felt like a point that a lot of people would quit because it felt too hard. It felt so hard. It was feeling like it wasn't worth it because I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And especially when you've assisted for so long too, I'm like, when is this big break happening that everyone talks about? The elusive big break, when is it coming?
I don't think I believe in big breaks.
No, I don't either in hindsight.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe
absolutely not.
Very occasional people get them.
I think it's so rare.
I agree.
It's so rare.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
So rare.
Anyway, I think because I was of the mindset of, okay, when you're in that scarcity mindset of, I don't know what my next job is, because I was the most in that mindset I ever have been back then, right? Because I didn't have those regular clients yet.
Yes.
So I was like, when is my next job coming? It means that jobs would come in that didn't really align with me in many ways that you would say yes to and you would make them work because you were grateful to have that job, right? But so many things went wrong that year. I had so many problems with clients that I'd just never had before.
Yeah.
But it all came down to the fact that I was meeting them at where they were at. Often there was a reflection of budget as well. They'd come to me with a budget that I shouldn't have said yes to.
Yeah, okay.
And I would say yes. And I often feel like it's the ones who want to pay you the least that will push you the most.
Yeah, okay.
As in they will want the most from you.
Yeah.
It might be their first time using a stylist. They don't understand how it works. They try and dictate to you how it works. And they push every single boundary you have. And I really learnt a lot that year from that. It was intense. It was so intense. But in hindsight, it was a boundary problem. It was my fault. If I had said If I'd put my foot down and said, I can't do that scope for this rate, it would have been a non-issue. But I didn't. I was saying yes because I needed that cash to get through. And in hindsight, it's all worked out great. Everything's great now. Yeah. But it was a lot of learning that year.
So are you saying basically once you stepped into who you wanted to be or who you were as a stylist, that's when it...
Well, that's such a cute way of putting it.
That's when...
Yeah.
That's when things started to align.
That's exactly right. I think I really started to put my foot down more with boundaries.
Yeah.
It was actually the boundaries the most out of everything, I feel like. And I was also producing a lot of work that felt like me finally.
Yeah,
because I guess a big part of my journey was test shoots. I did a test shoot when I was 17. I started at 17.
Yeah.
And I showed up with a duffel bag full of my friends' clothes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about buying and returning. I didn't know where you got clothes from.
Oh,
test shoots were a big part of developing my voice and my point of view. And I was finally doing test shoots and editorials that really aligned with me. And so I think clients were seeing that. But then I think it's also just once you start putting those boundaries in, it changed everything. It was the boundaries. It really was the boundaries.
Do you think was it the boundaries and also saying no to assisting? Because assisting made you feel like people weren't interpreting you, I don't know if that's the right word, or seeing you in the light that you were. Yeah.
And to be honest, the saying no to assisting was a boundary for me.
Yeah.
So
true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it did feel like another boundary that I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I felt like I just reached a point where I felt really ready to tackle any problem that I was faced with in terms of client management and whatnot. I just felt really ready. I think that's what it was. So I was just so ready to put my foot down. And yeah, that year of learning, I guess in reflection, so good. So hard at the time, but it was so worthwhile.
So yeah, that year you said no to assisting, so then there was maybe an income thing, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of money, scarcity.
Yeah.
And then also you said yes to all of these jobs that maybe didn't align to you because of the so it's basically a bit of a scarcity mindset, right?
It is, yeah, scarcity mindset.
Do you think you had to go through that though to get to here, or do you think you can just skip straight into not having a scarcity?
I feel like it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I had mentors to talk to about that, then it might have been a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
I feel like if we'd had some transparency about that jump, no one really talks about that jump from assisting to fully fledged. It's not spoken about. We know it's really hard getting into the industry. We all know this. But we don't really talk about that jump. It's a hard one to make, and I feel like in hindsight I learnt so much, and I'm really trying to empower others as well, my assistants that work with me now, and then other stylists who are in a similar position where they're ready to make that leap. When they're coming to me and asking me for help, I'm like, absolutely, let's talk about it. Let me tell you all the things I did wrong.
What did you do wrong? Everything what you just said.
It's the boundaries. It's actually the boundaries thing. And it sounds so simple, and boundaries is such a trendy word now.
It is,
but it's actually just so true. It was things I can give you an example. Yeah, it's where they would come to you, a client would come to you with a budget for a ridiculous budget for what they were asking for, and you'd be like, oh, you'd push back, you'd ask for more, they'd say no. You're like, oh, okay, I don't have anything booked in, I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. It's fine, I'll make it work. You make it work for them, but then all of a sudden the scope changes again, and all of a sudden they want X amount more outfits. All of a sudden the shoot date changes. All of a sudden the brief's a little bit different. So it's all of these things that they will just push and push and push, and you try and put your foot down, but at that point it's it's almost too far gone. You're I just want to get this job done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pull out on it because unless something extreme went wrong, I just wasn't going to do that. I was worried about my reputation. It's funny in hindsight because I just don't feel that way now. If I needed to pull the plug because a client was being unreasonable, I would pull the plug.
Yeah.
I would absolutely. It seems obvious, but it wasn't at the time. And yeah, it was really a boundary thing. I had a client call me up at 5:30 in the afternoon and said, hey, I know we were meant to shoot next week, but we're going to need to shoot tomorrow instead.
What?
Can you make it? I didn't have to source anything for this job. It was just to show up.
Okay.
But still, the reason I'm bringing this up is she got me on the phone so that I was on the spot. And I was well, I've got nothing on tomorrow, so yeah, I guess I can make it. But in hindsight, a lot of them went wrong with that job. They didn't order lunch.
Oh,
and then when I made a joke about, I was like, so guys, what's for lunch? So I made it nice and awkward. So they then ordered lunch, and they ordered lunch without the model.
Hold on, they didn't order lunch for the model.
I was like, sorry, we need to do another order for the model. Like, this is just not how this works.
No.
So, like, but the red flag from the start should have been they came to me with this budget for this ridiculous scope, and then all of a sudden the shoot was the next day. And so, in hindsight, I don't think I would say, I wouldn't say yes in the first place, let alone the 5:30 call being like, can we shoot tomorrow? No.
Yeah.
And then after that, they complained about, even though they'd pre-approved the cost, they complained about it afterwards and said they wouldn't pay me, and like, it was a whole thing.
Okay.
It was one of those.
Yeah.
And you learn from it.
Yeah, you learn from it. You'll never say yes to them again.
Oh my God, I'll tell you who they are off mic.
What do you think is important when it comes to the relationship between makeup artist and stylist?
I think it has to be very harmonious because it's important we work together, like anyone on set, I guess. But depending on what the goal of the shoot is, right?
Yeah.
If it's a fashion shoot and we are selling clothes or we're selling accessories, the hair and makeup really needs to speak to that. It's not about the hair and makeup.
No.
If it's a beauty shoot, it's about the hair and makeup. We can't have crazy styling. You can't have, like a balaclava or whatever if it's about the hair.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really a delicate dance, and it depends on what the job is. I think a lot of the time, I guess the client is managing what that looks like. I think the time where we have to actually manage it a lot more between us is more in an editorial space. When we're coming together to collaborate and we're like, okay, what's the actual like purpose of this story? Is this a fashion story? Is this a beauty story? Is this a story that is just a story in general where we need to do a delicate dance? You want to do a big black eye? Great. That means that look, I'm going to do much more streamlined styling. There's not going to be lots of layers. It's going to be simple. Your makeup's going to have the moment. I want to do some big shoulders and like stupid earrings. Let's keep it a bit more natural.
Okay.
I feel like it's a little bit of a delicate dance just because it's a fine line of like really chic and like edgy and experimental and like student project vibes.
Yeah.
So we can't all be like going at 100 at once.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that applies to every creative role on set. Like, it applies to the photography, it applies as in the lighting, and like, it's all a delicate dance.
I guess it's just with the relationship with any creative on set, it's actually just having an understanding of that.
It is actually.
Yes.
That's actually so true. And I think it's helpful that I'm quite close with a lot of makeup artists. So I do understand the process. I'm not a hair or makeup girly myself at all, as in like, I don't actually know anything about the products or anything like that. But I know they need this amount of time, and that just can't be cut down. You need your time. Like, do you want it done well, or do you want it done quickly? Like, if you want it done well, you need your time.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like I have, and even an understanding of like, sometimes clients will ask you guys for the most ridiculous things. They'll ask you to slick the hair, then they'll take a test shot and they'll be like, you know what? I think it should be like a blowout.
That's not possible.
And you're like, and so that's when I'll, if it's appropriate, I'll be like, you know what? I think this looks really chic because it complements.
Yeah, okay.
It's not, it's not taking attention away from the collar and,
and you'll help us out.
Yeah,
Love
of course.
that.
But that's what I mean. It's a delicate dance. You do help each other out like that.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
because we're often both freelancers being employed by the client. You do want to work together like that. It makes it easier if we can work together that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one thing I find is on actually all sorts of shoots, not even just stills, but TV commercials, is people forget that it takes time to dress people.
Yeah.
And
So
you know
true.
what? To be honest, I actually think that I've been, like, maybe I just haven't considered it. I don't know
Of course. It's not part of your role.
Yeah. But now, no, it actually, sometimes the getting ready time is including dressing, right? So I think that's something really important to be aware of as a makeup artist.
That's so true.
And it does, like, people don't just throw clothes on. It takes time.
And it really depends on the model you're working with too, because the pros will get in there and they'll do it quickly. But some people just dilly-dally and they need 15 minutes. They're on their phone, they're having a vape. You're so right, though, because often a client will come and they'll say, okay, the model needs to be ready by 9:30.
Yeah.
They're not saying hair and makeup ready. They're saying ready on set. But they will say to you, the hair and makeup artist, she needs to be ready at 9:30.
Yeah.
So you'll take that and you'll be like, okay, great, I'll finish. She'll be ready by
9:30.
9:30 from ready.
Step out of my chair.
Yeah, exactly. She won't be dressed, but she'll be stepping out. But that 9:30 often includes the getting dressed. And getting dressed isn't just putting the clothes on. It's putting the clothes on, but then you're often like trying on a few different shoes.
Yes.
Do I want this earring? Do I want that earring? Which bag do I want? Which sunglasses do I want? So it does take a bit of time. Yeah, and I guess you have to be respectful of each other's process like that. Where you can. Yeah, you do what you can.
Yeah. That's something that I just didn't consider it.
No, of course.
I think
but you do have to think about it because the client won't tell you. Like, when they say ready at 9:30, they like,
And then I think too, another thing to consider is if you're doing swim or lingerie or something like that, you got to moisturise that body.
That's so true.
Do you know what I mean? And that's not fast.
And also swim and lingerie, they're often wearing, have you seen the little C-strings?
Yeah.
They're often wearing a little DIY stick-on panty situation instead of underwear, which takes a little bit of time to like manoeuvre and like...
to get it right.
Yeah, because you often...
Didn't know that.
They're often they come and they're actually a little bit too big often
for
how skimpy lingerie or swimwear is. So I have to do some DIY, get out the scissors and I cut them down, I add some extra double-sided.
Yeah.
Might still be a little bit too big on...
Gee, I didn't even... See, learned something new.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. That's what's happening when we're behind our little change room walls in our naughty corner.
That's something that I think we really summed it up, but is there anything that you think really makes for a good relationship between hair and makeup and stylist?
I think it's just being willing to meet in the middle and collaborating in that way and having an understanding of each other's roles. Like you were saying, giving me a little bit of time to dress is nice, and me knowing that realistically you do probably need that hour and a half. Like, like as much as in an ideal world you'd take an hour and then I'd have half an hour to faff around with the model. Like, it's just not realistic. So I think it's just collaboration, and like anything in our job is like meeting people in the middle with kindness and just being flexible in that way as well. But I do feel like it comes to a head mostly when it's editorial, because otherwise it's a client dictating it, right? We often... it's not usually you and I negotiating things. It's more like in an editorial space where you want to give each team member space to create and space to be themselves. But you also want to make sure that there's space for you.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance. But I think it's just being flexible and being kind.
Yeah. What's some advice that you would give to your younger self about this world, this job you've chosen?
I actually wrote down a quote that I love for us. And I think it's so relevant. It's hard conversations, easy life. Easy conversations, hard life. And it kind of ties into my boundaries chat, right? So having the conversations about rates, having conversations about scope, having hard conversations on set even when you have to address certain issues and whatnot. Sometimes it feels easier to just go with the flow and to not stand up for yourself, to not put your foot down, which is what I was doing, right? But when you do have those hard conversations, you feel better. Like you feel so much better for having them. They're not nice at the time. No one enjoys those conversations. Yeah. But having them means you don't feel resentful. It means you can show up as your best self. It means you get what you need from the client as well. I just feel like that sums it up perfectly. Like for me, that's been a big learning, the boundaries thing. And I guess as well, again, it sounds a little bit harsh, but remembering that as freelancers, everyone's out for themselves, and you can be kind and really nice and whatnot, but if you don't put your boundaries in, people will just stomp on you to get to the next job. And I've had so much of that because there's been times where I think it's been taken for granted, but it's also my own fault for not putting boundaries in. It's both, right? It's like two things can be true at once. Yes. There's been times where, it's definitely been taken advantage of. And so now I show up in a way that like I'm kind and nice and, but, don't mistake that for weakness. Like I'll put my foot down now when I need to, because that allows me to be a better creative and a better freelancer for my clients, and I can just show up in a better way. I think finding a way to put your foot down in a unemotional kind way, that's what it is key. Right? It's taking emotion out of it. And we're emotional as creatives. So I think it's delivery. I think you've got to you just get better at how you deliver something that maybe someone doesn't want to hear.
right?
It really is. There's so many ways that you can word things.
Yeah.
That is still kind and respectful, but you can still be firm. And
Yeah.
but it's learning, right? It's so much learning, and you have to practice to get better at it as well. You just have to do it to get better at it.
Yeah, you're not going to be good straight away.
No. Like I said, I'm nearly 10 years in, and I feel like I've only just kind of wrapped my head around it. Still more work to do. There's always more work to do.
If there's a younger stylist listening to this at the moment and they want to assist you or meet you or work with you, work for you maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, with
work
me.
under you, yeah. How do they approach you?
To be honest, my favourite way is email, because I get a lot of DMs.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to keep track of, and often you reply to them, but then you lose it in the... Whereas if it's in email, I can look up, assistant or whatever. There's a way of keeping, I have a folder, so there's a way of keeping track. I feel like that's the best way to do it, is just reaching out via email. If things that I've said today have aligned for you, let's work together. Yeah.
What do you want to know about them?
What do I want to know about them? To be fair, this probably applies for when you're looking for assistants too. I want to know what they've been doing, so their background. So often they'll send me a resume or whatever, which I do actually find really helpful, because I kind of want to know where they've come from.
Yeah.
I want to know if they drive, for example, because that makes a difference, because we're often in the most rogue locations in the middle of nowhere, and I drive, but I don't even live in the city, so I can't pick you up. You need to be able to get there yourself. So that feels like something that's important. And I want to know that you have initiative, I guess. I want to hear about why you even want to assist. Is it something you want to do long term?
Yeah.
Are you interested in building a career in fashion, or are you just kind of doing this until, you get your next job, or what's... I guess when you bring an assistant on as well, the shoot days are quite intense, right? They're almost trauma bonding at times.
Yeah.
And so when you invest time in training someone new, you kind of want to keep working together for an extended period, not forever. Yeah. I want them to move on and do their jobs too. Of course. I do really want that for them. But I guess I want to know that, you'll be around. Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Do you want to know if they've assisted other people?
Yeah, that's helpful to know as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's absolutely helpful to know who you've worked with. But I think it's helpful to know what your goals are, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I don't often get told, but I guess I'll ask. Because I do find it helpful to know, do you actually even want to stay in styling? A lot of people assist stylists, but they don't want to stay in styling. They want to move into brand marketing or art direction or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it the same for hair and makeup? Similar?
I think for me, I've had one assistant that I'd never met before, and I will always want to know somebody before they come on set with me.
I've learnt from that. Yeah, I've absolutely, actually, you're right. In an ideal world, there hasn't been many assistants I've taken on when we haven't had some kind of connection. But the reason I do sometimes take on someone who we don't have any mutuals, that was me. I didn't have any mutuals with anyone either.
Yeah.
So when I first got started, but it can be a really hard thing, because you don't know. Even some assistants will come across so eloquent and they sound like they really want to be there. I had the perfect example of this at the end of last year. I had this assistant come on board who was so excited and so grateful. And at one point, we were on a location shoot. At one point, I looked over and she was sitting down and she was wearing a robe, the model's robe, and she was looking through the magazine that was a prop. And I was like, there's mess everywhere. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
But that's the initiative part, and that's the, do you actually want to be there?
Yeah.
I never sat down, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes you just don't know until you work with someone.
Yeah, it's an energy thing.
It is though, yeah.
Yeah, it is an energy thing, and there's a lot of things for me.
Yeah, but it is an energy. It's how they show up, how they hold themselves, how they support you.
Yeah.
Do they actually care? You know?
I don't think I'd ever work with anyone. I don't think I'd ever have an assistant again until I've met them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need to have an assistant. It's just, the thing is just you haven't met before. I think there's just some, I think when you do something, you think everyone else does it that way and they don't.
Oh my God, I know.
And that may be a really bad thing to say, but they don't. Anyway, moving on.
We've been yapping for a while.
One last question. If any creative wants to collaborate with you, let's even say it's a hair, makeup, photographer, whoever.
Yeah.
If they want to collaborate with you, they love your style, they want to test with you, they message you. What do you want to hear from them? Like, like you've never heard of them before. You don't know them. Maybe you're like, I don't know. They're new. Like, would you test with somebody that you didn't know if they've come to you with a concept and an idea that aligns with you? Or it just doesn't really work like that?
No, I would, but I have learnt with testing, it's one of those things that it's more important than ever that you align, right? Because, again, I've done so many tests in hindsight that I've been like, that was a shit show, for lack of a better word. I don't align with the photos. Didn't actually really align with the team looking back. I think now I would always, even if we haven't worked together but we've got mutuals, like, let's go for coffee.
Okay.
So I would absolutely work with you if we haven't worked together before, but we do need to have some kind of chat and some kind of dialogue, just so I know what you're about, what your vibe
Fair
is.
enough.
And I think as well, it's important when people are coming to me and they're asking me to do a substantial amount of work for free, I want them to be coming to me because they want me to style it, not just because they need a stylist. I get these DMs every week from different photographers who they've obviously just followed me. They've been like, hey, we're going to have a shoot in 3 days. Can you please, we would love to have 8 looks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, no. No, that's the boundaries piece. But also if, we've never talked before, we've never anything. Though to be fair, if someone's coming to me with a concept, we don't have to have talked before. But I more mean they've popped up out of nowhere. We've got no mutuals. They haven't asked to have a chat about it. It's not an open dialogue.
Yeah.
I get
you.
So I do think it is important to have a little bit of dialogue before you commit to a creative project.
Yeah.
Because when you are publicly aligning yourself with people, you just need to be careful about it.
And also I think too, with hair and makeup, you can turn up on the day and that's your one day's gone.
Yeah.
With styling, there's prep.
Yeah.
And then there's post. So there's that little bit more before and after time. But I think that's a really great tip.
Yeah.
Someone really does want to work with you. They love your style. They love what you're doing. Then meet and talk about it.
Let's chat. Don't rush it. That's exactly what it is. And the reality is we're all going to do a better job if we have time to sit with it and think on it. Let the idea develop a bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a quick, let's do this, right now type
tomorrow.
thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Love you, Kate.
I love you.
Anything else you want to share, add?
Some wise words.
For, anyone, style, any people out there.
I would say just get started and just email and reach out to everyone. Like I was saying earlier, how I didn't know how to get in, so I just send so many emails, ask people for coffee. The worst thing they'll do is ignore you. If they don't ignore you, they might say no. That's great, they even replied.
People generally don't say no, people generally just ignore you.
You are absolutely right. Or sometimes they'll be like, we're not looking for a stylist right now, we're not looking for hair and makeup right now. You say, great, no worries. They might come back in 6 months' time.
Well, you go back in 6 months.
We go back in 6 months' time. It's just worth getting across people's desks, even if they're not replying to you. You send 10 emails, you might get 2 replies. One says, we don't need anyone now, and the other one says, what are your rates? And then you never hear from any of them again. But then the other ones who haven't replied to you will come back requesting to book you in 6 months' time. And it's making people aware that you're around, you're available, you're keen. Yeah, I think just hassle people.
Yeah, but don't be Martha from
hassle people kindly and respectfully.
Yeah. Do it every 3 months.
Don't go too far. You know what I was saying.
Yeah, I do. But I would email someone and wouldn't hear back from them. Like, oh my gosh, they.
Yeah, no.
But they don't even think about you.
That's what I was saying though about. That's exactly what I was saying though about how you send 10 emails and you just don't get responses. Yeah. You just keep going. It's almost like manifesting. Like you're putting that energy out to the universe. Me too, exactly. I wish I knew that sooner too. Yeah, that's my piece.
Thanks.